You know that poem everyone quotes at graduations? The one about two roads diverging in a yellow wood and taking the one less traveled by? Yeah, you've probably gotten it wrong your whole life, and that's not a judgment. It's actually the most beautiful part of the story. Robert Frost wrote those words as a gift, a sad gift, one that nobody really understood, and when you find out why, everything about those lines will change. Stay with me. Before we talk about what this poem really means, we need to sit with what everyone thinks it means. For decades, generations even, the road not taken has been celebrated as an anthem, a celebration of individualism, courage, the bold choice, the unconventional path. We hear that final stanza and we think, yeah, I'm going to be different. I'm going to take the road less traveled by, and that will make all the difference. Inspirational posters, graduation speeches, LinkedIn profiles, motivational Instagram captions. This poem became the poet's way of saying, be yourself, be brave, choose the unconventional. But here's what's so quietly devastating about this. Robert Frost himself watched this happen, and he was almost amused by it, almost heartbroken by it, because the poem was never saying that, not at all. Robert Frost was born in 1874. He lived a life of contradiction, someone who seemed outwardly simple, a farmer poet, but who carried depths of sadness and complexity that few people ever truly saw. His life was marked by loss. His mother died when he was young. His daughter died in childbirth. He experienced depression. He faced financial struggles. He was not the wise, grandfatherly figure people imagined him to be, but there's someone else in this story. Someone crucial. His name was Edward Thomas, and he was Frost's closest friend. Edward Thomas was a British poet, not as famous as Frost, not as celebrated, but he was brilliant, sensitive, deeply introspective. He was the kind of person who understood Frost in a way few others did. They were kindred spirits, two men who felt things deeply, who wrestled with meaning, who understood the quiet ache of existence. And here's the thing about Edward Thomas that matters. He was plagued by indecision. He would spend hours, sometimes days, wrestling with choices, small ones, big ones. Should I write poetry or prose? Should I pursue this career or that one? Should I take this risk or play it safe? He second-guessed himself constantly. He analyzed every option until paralysis set in. Frost watched his dear friend suffer from this, and one day in 1915, he decided to write a poem about it, not to scold him, but to tell him something true. Frost wrote The Road Not Taken for Edward Thomas, and it's a poem about something very different from what we've been told. It's about the futility and the humanity of trying to know which choice is the right one. Let me read you the poem, and then we'll move through it together, slowly. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one person. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other, as just about fair and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Yet as I wore, I was not really sure it wore less, or they were really the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted I should ever come back, and I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Now, let's talk about what's really happening here. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one person. Already, Frost is talking about something real, the human condition. We can't live all our lives. We can't take every path. We're trapped in the singular experience of being one person in one moment, making one choice. That's not poetic decoration. That's the human tragedy. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Notice the word long. The speaker doesn't rush. He examines. He tries to see where the road leads. And here's the key. He can only see as far as the bend. The road disappears into uncertainty, into the undergrowth. He cannot see where it truly goes. Then took the other, as just about fair because it was grassy and wanted wear. This is where Frost becomes almost mischievous. Just about fair, as if to say, I chose this one because I had to choose something, not because I knew it was better, not because I could really tell the difference. And then, it was grassy and wanted wear. He chooses the one that looks less traveled, but, and this is crucial, he later admits he's not even sure this is true. Yet, as I wore, I was not really sure it wore less, or they were really the same. Do you hear the devastation in this? The gentle, honest devastation. The roads might be identical. He might have just chosen one for arbitrary reasons and convinced himself it was different. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Both roads are equally untouched, equally fresh, equally unknowable. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted I should ever come back. This is Frost being tender with Edward Thomas, acknowledging the illusion we all carry. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe there's time to explore the other path. But he knows better. Life moves forward. One choice leads to another. The road curves, and we rarely, if ever, get to return to that fork in the wood. And I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. A sigh, not a triumphant shout. A sigh. There's resignation in that word, weariness, the weight of time, and then the final lines that everyone gets wrong. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. This is the twist. This is Frost's quiet genius. The speaker is admitting that he will, in the future, tell himself this story. He will narrate it as if he made a bold, unconventional choice. He will convince himself that he took the road less traveled, but he just told us, mere lines before, that he couldn't even see any real difference between the roads. So what's happening? Frost is describing something that every human being does. We make a choice, often with uncertainty, often with no real way to know if we're making the right one. And then, later, we tell ourselves a story about that choice. We rationalize it. We mythologize it. We convince ourselves that we chose boldly, that we chose wisely, that it was all part of a grander plan. We need to believe that our choices matter, that they were deliberate, that they reveal something true about who we are. But Frost is gently suggesting, maybe they don't. Maybe you're just telling yourself that story. This is not cynicism. This is compassion. Because here's the human truth. We cannot know which road is right. We cannot see the future. We cannot know if the choice we make will lead to happiness or sorrow, fulfillment or regret. We make decisions in darkness, in fog, in uncertainty. And what Frost is saying to Edward Thomas, what he's saying to all of us, is this. That's okay. That's enough. We don't need to have perfect certainty. We don't need to choose the definitively better path. We just need to choose, and then we need to live with that choice, to commit to it, to make it matter through how we live, not through some inherent truth about the road itself. The road becomes meaningful not because we chose it, but because we walk it. Frost is also, perhaps, gently teasing his friend Edward Thomas, saying, "You spend so much time analyzing, so much time trying to figure out which choice is right, but in the end, you'll choose something close to arbitrarily, and you'll probably create a narrative about it later that feels profound and truthful. And that's okay. That's human. That's how we survive the terror of freedom." But there's something else in this poem, something sadder. Frost wrote this for his friend, and Edward Thomas read it, and Thomas took it, like the world did, as a celebration of bold choices. Thomas went on to make a bold choice. He enlisted in World War I. He left his life behind. He chose what seemed like the road less traveled, and he died in that war in 1917. Just a couple of years after Frost gave him this poem. We don't know if Frost's poem influenced that decision. Probably it didn't, not directly, but there's something haunting about it. The poem's message, which Frost never intended to be inspirational, which Frost wrote as something much more complex, became a kind of permission, a reason to choose the unconventional, even if it meant risk. Frost never forgot this. For the rest of his life, he watched people misread the poem, and maybe he carried some guilt. Maybe he carried some sadness that the honest, complicated thing he wrote became something simpler and more dangerous. Or maybe he understood that that's just what happens to words. They take on meanings beyond what we intend. They become something larger than ourselves.
So, what does this poem actually teach us? Not to be bold, not to be different, not to take unconventional paths, but to be honest, to be gentle with ourselves, to acknowledge that we're all making choices in the dark, and that's not a failure. That's the human condition. We cannot know the future. We cannot see where roads lead. We can only choose with the information we have, with the person we are in that moment. And then we must live with that choice fully. We must not spend our lives wondering about the path not taken. The real meaning of this poem is radical acceptance. It's saying, you will doubt yourself. You will wonder if you chose correctly. You will, in fact, probably never know. And that has to be enough. Frost was kind to Edward Thomas. He was kind to all of us. He wrote a poem that says, "Your uncertainty doesn't disqualify you. Your inability to see the future doesn't make you weak. Your choice, whatever it is, can matter. It will matter. Because you decide to make it matter." The poem isn't about being extraordinary. It's about being human. It's about standing at a fork in the wood, unable to see where either path leads, and choosing anyway. Not because you're brave, but because you're alive. Because choosing is what living means. And later, years later, ages and ages hence, you'll tell yourself the story of that choice. And that story will matter more than the truth of the choice itself. Because we survive not through perfect decisions, but through the narratives we construct about our lives. That's beautiful, actually, when you think about it. Robert Frost understood something that nobody was asking him to explain. He understood that we're all standing in a yellow wood. We're all looking down roads we can't quite see clearly. We're all about to make choices that will ripple through our lives in ways we can't predict. And he wrote this poem not to tell you to be bold, but to tell you that it's okay to be uncertain. It's okay to choose without certainty. It's okay to live with doubt. And it's okay to tell yourself a story about your choice that helps you keep going. The road not taken will always haunt us a little bit, and that's not a failure. That's just the price of having only one life to live. So the next time you find yourself at a fork in the wood, whether it's a big choice or a small one, whether it's obvious or invisible, remember that Frost wasn't telling you to be extraordinary. He was telling you to be honest, and then to keep walking.